Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today taking a look at All That Glitters version 2.0. Starting off the match today in the free cam mode. Trying out some new stuff, just seeing what I like and what I don't. And it's pretty fun. I do like this free cam mode. You get really cool shots with it. It feels very cinematographic. You know what I mean. But All That Glitters version 2.0, if you've been a fan of this channel for any amount of time, you've definitely seen this map. The map itself needs no introduction, but why don't we meet our players today? Spawning in the, oh, I'm all disoriented, I don't realize anymore. I think this is the northern section. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, this is the northern section. Spawning in the northern half today for our red team. Representing our red team as their red team leader, we have Little Moon going for a vehicle lab in the trenches. Definitely going to be very nice to see. Love to see what Little Moon gets up to. This was a relatively short replay when it was sent in to me. The file was pretty small, so something interesting is bound to happen. But spawning in the southern half for our blue team, going for an air lab, quite interesting. In a rear position, we do have Ollie 4523. Unfortunately, 4,522 other Ollies had already signed up for Beyond All Reason, so Ollie 4523 was the number to pick. No, I always make fun of that. Whenever I see somebody with like a bizarre random number, just following their name, my mind just jumps instantly to them having lost their spot to that many more people in front of them in line. We'll jump back into the regular camera mode here, and we will take a look at what goes on. Death Spiral 99 already getting a few units out on the field, winning the official Brightworks. Whoa, hold on, whoa, hold your horses there. We have not sent the units across, and so in fact, we cannot hand out the award just yet. Empa, our dark green player, is showing us that they might be interested in winning that award out of the hands of Death Spiral 99. Because indeed, the units have not crossed the field. Whoa, but Ivanish Chad has actually come out from left field to send a couple of rovers across the map. And I think, yep, they are routed in such a way that they are going to get the first hit out today. And win the Brightworks official Get a Unit Out and About on the Field award. Congratulations, Ivanish Chad, our purple player of today. Rovers do find a metal extractor. They don't decide to kill it, though. They just move in to scope the joint, as they say. But very nicely done. Ah, they do return. Seeking a vengeance for that metal extractor, which defiled them so. This rover will continue into the backline here. Does find the red team leader, so that's always nice to know where well, at least at the very least, the theoretically strongest player is. Sometimes it's not true, but most of the time you can rely on the red player being the best one on the team. Incisors out and about here, patrolling on the front lines. These are not set to repeat, so they're just kind of moving about, doing their own thing. Duck Dodgers has done a great job of pushing up really quickly, so that is quite nice to see. It looks like there was a tick was shot down. I thought I saw a resbot right over here. Yep, this is great. So there's tons of metal on the version 2 of this map, and so resbots are super important to eat up all this juicy metal and send it back to your economy. So I do love to see this resbot out and about. I'd love to see this given just a general resurrection command, or reclaim command rather, all over this area. I mean, if we just take a look at the huge selection of this map, you can see there's tons and tons of metal. Gatefire getting harassed by a couple of incisors, but quickly putting them down with a D-gun or two, just to make sure that nothing too devastating happens. A couple of grunts in the backline here. A Blitz is trying its best to take care of them, but some gunships are shown. That's a really important scout that actually we did see those gunships come out here. That gives the blue team time to put up anti-air defenses. As soon as they saw those gunships, those anti-air defenses should start coming up here. If we have the EMP... Oh. Trying to D-gun each other and realizing that no longer works. That's always funny. Oh, you know, I just realized as well, the metal spots here are worth 3.2. That is quite interesting. I don't believe that was the case with the old All That Glitters map version. So these are actually really important metal spots to contest right in this little choke point here. Being held by Ivanish Chad and up against Little Moon, as well as Gatefire versus Empa. Very nicely done. Front lines are starting to be drawn. Candyman back here is going for a little more build power, but we are getting units out and about on the front line, so that is quite nice to see. A commander sacrifice right here from our green player. Looks like, oh no, Bruno Lesourière. Lesourière? No, that's French, so do I roll the R on that? Lesourière? I know that French. That's not even English, is it, Breadworks? No, I know that French really comes from the back of the throat, so it should be like Bruno Lesourière. Lesourière, something like that. Gosh, I'm sure all the French people watching this are just absolutely devastated hearing me try my very best. Oh, well, what can I do? Such is the curse of the commentator to play a global game as lovely as it is and beyond all reason, to have these names that are just impossible for my puny American accent to pronounce. I can basically do like a cheap knockoff of any accent from around the world, but actually properly linguistically pronouncing anything is much more difficult. Oh well, talk is cheap, that's what they say. I've honest Chad making sure that Little Moon has a really hard time breaking out of this section here. Forcing the units to stay grouped up in this choke point is really, really important. So actually what I would even love more is to see these turrets built in a pattern like this outside, forcing them to posture in this really tiny choke point right here. Huge blitz run by. Whoa, that is tons of blitzes. 12 blitzes right out the gate here. An attack like that is hardly ever prepared for, and so that can do a tremendous amount of damage. It does also mean that Little Moon's forces have to pull off the front line, meaning that Ivanish Chad actually does have a reason to push in here. There's no way to deal with this many blitzes, though. Shy of like a D-gun or something, some really spectacular catch. But yeah, those blitzes absolutely devastate Little Moon, and I can see why this match is not going to take very long. With more moves like that, we're certainly going to see a tremendous play. That being said, wow, actually, the pink player back here, Beneddelson, the light pink player, did actually have a huge standing army. It just wasn't positioned in any sort of way. It could have probably done a whole lot more to defend there, but at the very least, it did shut down a ton of these blitzes right here, meaning that push was actually halted pretty effectively. There's also fighters to shut down these bombers. Ooh, although this bomber does get its run lined up, and it drops those bombs right on top of those windmills. Oh, it just barely doesn't chain react them. That one is so low right there, 11% on that windmill. If we were able to eat all that up, that would have been absolutely wonderful. We even sent in air constructors to try and eat up the metal from the base we just ravaged. That's pretty funny. Gotta hand it to Ollie for being resourceful. T2, my base. Mala gets one. That was Valorous Unicorn over here. We do have T2 out indeed, and that's very nice that we're going to be handing those out. That's very important. Get those T2 economies up and running as quickly as we can. We've got a little bit of a heavy laser turret showdown over here. The Wardens versus the Overwatch. Big push with these blitzes, trying to use these to break out of this containment. But it will not work, as apparently we are now just satisfied with building up as much static defense in this line. We actually have moved it back, just like I was saying, so that's really nice to see. The reason for that is you can get a much nicer concave, and then again, you're forcing your enemy to posture in this tight little choke point here, which gives you a bit of an advantage. Your AoE is going to work a whole lot harder. Everything is going to be a whole lot better. Beneddelson says, left side losing. That is sort of expected, actually. On this map, this is not what we're used to seeing. Empa probably is pretty experienced here, or at the very least is making the right decisions. If it's just by chance, then they are still making the right decisions just as well. More blitzes rushing in here. We're going to use them to crack the front lines here. At the very least, we take down the static defenses, the laser turrets. Artillery landing on these tanks does scuff them up pretty badly. There's a opportunity path right here. We could push through the left side and down this lane just like that. There's also this nice big opening right here, so we could slip some units through in that direction. Empa has effectively locked down this area until we get some artillery vehicles out and about here, which is a tech transition I wouldn't mind seeing in the least. Gatefire could definitely afford it, but Corian is also up to T2, and we are producing Hounds, so eventually we are actually just going to see that T2 push eventually hit the front line. Can I get some help bot right? Get Artie. Yeah, Gatefire definitely does need the help. We could see the commander walk in here, and if we could blow all this up with the commander, it might be an effective trade. Certainly would be enough to at least stall this lane pretty effectively. Speaking of which, Empa has not captured both of these metal extractors. It's not a lot, but it definitely could be effective, or it could contribute to an effective change of game here. T1 medium tanks are now in the backline and looking relatively healthy. They get constructors, they tear down metal extractors, they're just causing mayhem out here. Yeah, tearing down these metal extractors hurts pretty badly. There's a lot of metal we're leaving in the back line, though. Oh, just needs a second to warm up. There we go. 1,500 metal. Or no, not quite a half. More like 1.1 thousand metal, as you can read clearly on the screen there. 2.3k metal in the I guess the middle of the trenches here. Pretty far back in the red player's base, though. And 1,000 metal on the outsides there. Just as well, we have 1.9 thousand metal left over in wreckages here. Very, very difficult to claim, though, because those laser towers are overwatching that. And the front lines have stagnated pretty harshly. We do have these oh, actually, this is interesting. We've gone from the forward bot lab and the rear vehicle bay. Usually we see this in reverse, but I guess it's the same effect, just in the opposite order. Still works out pretty well. Death Spiral doing a good job of holding this front line here, as best as they can anyway. We are taking up to that T2 economy, but wind is pretty bad right now, so I'd love to see those advanced solar panels out and about. That's something that I think people misunderstood when I complained about those T1 solar panels. I'm definitely not saying to not go for T2 solar panels, the advanced solar panels. Those are great. What I'm saying is there's sort of two paths to get there, right? You can take windmills or you can take regular solar panels. What I'm saying is if you can at all help it, and by that I mean you have to make that decision based on the wind speed and the tidal speed and all that sort of stuff. If you can at all help it, get to advanced solar panels through any avenue other than the solar collectors. Think of it like a priority list, right? This should be, at least in my opinion, this should be number one. There's no title on this map, but little water generators would be number two. And then if you absolutely have to, this should be your third and final choice. You can make it just as effective, make those solar panels just as effective as windmills, if you're really, really good at reclaiming in the late game. Just make sure that you reclaim them in just the right time to fund either your T2 transition or using them to fund something, or whenever you're ready to step up your energy production to a higher tier. Even just stepping up energy production into advanced solar panels. If you're really good about reclaiming them, then it actually isn't as big a problem as I often joke about it being. But certainly if you do forget to reclaim them, it's just about as bad as it can get. You're effectively downing yourself of an extra 150 metal per solar panel, which that's pretty big. That's especially in the early game. That can add up real quickly. T2 is out and about on the field. This Tiger having a field day, tearing apart a bunch of these blitzes here. We also get the metal extractor, of course. Not a whole lot of defense there, but we are continuing to build defense here, and so that T2 is going to be enough to, at the very least, push back some of the purple forces. Front lines are drawn. The lines of war. And you can see well, actually, I was going to say these lines are really working in the favor of the blue team, but I do notice there's this huge exposed opening right here. We could actually send a ton of units through this little choke point, this little gap, and completely devastate the frontline defenses here. So this right-hand side is actually holding on based entirely on posturing, because if this was collapsed on, it could be terrible. At the same time, a bunch of blitzes just run past the defenses here, and we do sneak into this this rearward front line. And wow. Yeah, those blitzes, man, they can be so devastating. They really do tremendous work. Whoa, lots of bombers dropping their bombs on a commander, of all things. We do get the commander down to 58%. Oh, another run at bombing. A bombing run, if you will. Commander down to 46% now. Bombing commanders is never really an efficient trade. It's a fun theoretical, but I've just hardly ever seen it effectively done. A lot of those bombers go down. Fighters sweeping in to clean up the rest of these bombers, trying to get some tanks, whatever they can for their value, but yeah, really inefficient bombing. Unfortunate to see. Really good job on the orange player for getting those fighters out and maintaining that presence of mind to keep that fighter screen mobile. 4,500 metal lying on the field here. Pilorama not moving the commander anymore. Not moving much of anything anymore. not moving anymore. Oh no. Oh, the Tiger tank is back here, and it chain reacts those windmills. That really hurts. It runs right into a commander, and eventually we'll get D-Gun, but yeah. Our Seafoam player here, Pillorama, our one true skill player back here, has fallen prey to the Tiger tank, as many of us often are one to do. Really, one true skill, one Chevron, definitely some new players, and doing a great job of getting that wind power up as opposed to those T1 solar panels. Usually I have to gripe and groan about that all game long in these lower skilled ranks. But no, it looks like we're actually doing a really good job about that. This is not good. We definitely need these on the field rather than the backline. Send these up, give them out to teammates. There's a little button with 2 arrows pointing towards each other. Just click that friendly little button whenever you're selecting units next to whatever player you want to give them to. And those units will happily join that team's, or that color's army. And then you don't have to worry about microing them, if that's your problem in the back line here. We do see an advanced fusion reactor coming up. This is actually a really nice balance of build power here. We have a couple constructors in our construction turrets, but it's not a tremendous amount of build power. But it's working on this advanced fusion reactor sort of slowly but surely, which is allowing us to pump out these hounds at a decent enough pace while we are still teching up. So actually this is really nicely done. I wonder if Corian has seen a few teching videos, because that is really, really nice. I certainly wasn't teching that well when I was a True Skill 14. I was still stuck in the spam out as many advanced solar panels as you could idea. Not the worst idea, by the way, but certainly there are better ones. Artillery continuing to shell down. We also have a gauntlet built over here to tear down these defenses. That AoE is really what's killing this, because we do have the repair happening, but we can only repair one at a time, so of course that AoE is eventually going to rain down. We are dismantling this with a agitator and its aerial bombardment, but we have plenty of repair here to keep this up in ship shape. And eventually the heavy laser turret does fall. Front line is looking more and more dangerous. Mauser, the T2 Armada artillery unit, have started to hit the front line. We have some consoles eating up stuff off the front line too. That's 3.2 thousand metal, and it's all going back to Ivana's Chad here. Excellent job teching up, by the way. We're going for that beautiful build that I love so much here. I don't think I came up with it, because I'm hesitant to claim that about basically anything in this game. Just because of how rich the history of this game is, right? How much people have played and loved this game. But this is definitely a build that I am a huge fan of, a huge supporter of, where you go for a fusion reactor, 2 energy converters, another fusion reactor, another 2 energy converters, or another 4 energy converters, sorry, and then go into an advanced fusion reactor. Usually lets you scale your economy really, really nicely. And it's a build you can do passively in the background with just a little bit of build power, and it'll eventually scale you up to a nice amount of production without you really having to spend a tremendous amount of APM in the backline, micromanaging all the different things that you want to expand. You just have to be careful not to dedicate all of your build power to building the advanced fusion reactor, because it'll quickly drain you of resources. You just want to spend, maybe a couple construction turrets on it, 3 or 4 construction turrets, and then the rest of it just build out of a, maybe 3 or 4 is too many, maybe 2 or 3 construction turrets. Oh, these Banishers, they can do a lot of damage. They are the Cortex equivalent to the Sharpshooter. They can launch that super high damage missile from super far away. It is a vehicle, so of course there's little bits of differences here and there, but definitely think of them similarly. It's a great way to do a huge spike of damage right off the bat. But these Tiger tanks, they break through, and again, we don't have a great option for defending against these. They continue moving forward. They're fanning out, trying to get more of a scout than anything. We have the T2 lab up. We're not producing fiends. We're not producing sumos. We're not producing anything. And that's a problem. We don't really have the metal. We're starting up a fusion reactor, but unfortunately this push came at just a terrible time. These hounds did hit the front lines, and eventually they're going to start tearing this stuff apart. I think they were dumbfiring in a spot for a second there. But certainly there's enough hounds here to absolutely devastate whatever they walk past. Not to mention the Tigers, who are now encountering a Shiva. A little bit terrifying to encounter one of those, especially at this point in the game. But it does indeed look like our green player in the backline has gone straight up to a T3 lab. We're going to be eco-rushing our enemies here. Not the worst possible scenario, until you see a cloud of, I don't know, maybe 28 bombers headed directly towards your advanced fusion reactor. This is going to be a pretty picture. as the bombs rain down. Actually, they didn't manage to take out the advanced fusion reactor on the first run. Certainly a second pass will be more than enough, though. Certainly. Nope. I was wrong. Second pass will not be enough, and indeed we'll send the bombers in for a third pass, finally taking down the advanced fusion reactor, as well as tons and tons of these bombers. A push here from tanks on the right-hand side. Looks like they kind of streamed in and out of the gulches and gullies over here and did end up taking out the entire right side of the map, meaning that suddenly the blue team is collapsed upon. Duck Dodgers appears to be rather upset. Chose to voice those complaints after they've lost all their position here, rather than early on in the game, as some sort of a coaching position might do. Always be wary of people who are quick to jump to blaming others. Be wary of their advice. Sometimes they just it's a phenomenon that I've described multiple times before. When you're playing a game like this, your mind is racing at 1,000 beats per minute. You're generating hundreds and hundreds of actions per minute, and although you might not be able to spend all those in your fingers, the second you die, the second you're out of the game and you have nothing left to do, your mind is still racing. You still have all these actions pumping through your brain, and so sometimes that leaks into your fingers, and you accidentally start yelling in the chat because you have to spend that APM somehow, and yelling in the chat is the only avenue you have left. That's why I think it would be valuable to implement some sort of a rule where within I don't know, maybe 30 seconds of you dying or being eliminated from the game, you're not allowed to talk in chat. I think unironically that would probably eliminate like 70% of bad mannering coming out in the game after people die here. Candyman calls a resign vote. And things are looking pretty dire here. Yellow units are just continuing to push forward. A downright oppressive amount of hounds are streaming through the right-hand side. And indeed, it looks like that will be enough to convince the blue team here to collapse. Love to see these quick games. Just goes to show you that units will always be more important than static defense. You can move them around, you can respond, and also scouting, making sure that your enemy isn't getting some sort of crazy tech lead from a lack of harassment, going to be just as important. Anyways, thanks a ton for watching. I hope you guys had a tremendous time watching this, and I hope your day is even better. I will see you in the next video.